This is Rogers TV. Barrie.
Welcome to Kevin Richards VIPs. My guest today is an amazing man with a true passion for this city and proves you're never too old to fall in love. Let's get to know Willard Kinzie. So I'm finally have the time to sit down with Willard Kinzie. I've been looking forward to the opportunity of meeting with Willard for quite a long time. Willard, thank you for taking the time to finally be on my show. You're an amazing man.
Pleasure.
Well, there's so much to learn about you, and we're going to try and jam it into 28 minutes roughly, and you've been around for a long time, and it's so exciting. Willard, tell me a little bit about growing up. Where did you first grow up?
I grew up, my father had a one-horse, one-wagon dairy in Blair, Ontario, which is now Cambridge.
Yep.
And he sold that when I was a year old, and he purchased a farm.
Yep.
And what happened there was I grew up there, went to a one-room schoolhouse. My education finished at what's now grade 8.
Yep.
I had 2.5 miles to walk to school. There was no transportation to get to high school, so I went to work on the farm.
Nice.
And this was hard work. However, my father and 2 of his brothers each had a one-horse dairy.
Yep.
And when they would get together, they would tell stories not about farming, but about things that happened in
About
the
life.
dairy industry.
Yeah.
Like my father was a very religious man, but at that time this was before bottles, they had a gallon can and a quart measure, and they
For
would
milk?
knock on the woman's door, and
Yeah.
she would come out with a container, and they would pour the milk in there. And in this case, this was in the town of Preston,
Yep.
now Cambridge. And in this case, this woman, at that time there were no sewage plants, no sewage facility. So everything was an outhouse.
Oh, wow.
And she thought her husband had gone to the outhouse and locked himself out. So she comes out there, she has nothing on but an open nightgown. My dad threw his hands up and whatnot. Well, the other brothers would tease him about
that moment.
that moment.
So that's really great. So
he said he was embarrassed, but they said, "Oh no, you enjoyed that."
well, there's no crying over spilled milk, right?
So these stories made me resolved
yeah.
that when I grew up, if I could get enough money,
Yeah.
I would go in the dairy business.
And so where'd you do that?
Well, the Great Depression hit. Money was very scarce. Mother took ill. There was no hospital care. He lost all his. It took all his money to save her life. And the war broke out. I went overseas.
Where were you deployed?
Off at $1.30 a day.
Where were you deployed?
I was in the Corps of Canadian Firefighters. We were in the port cities where the invasion would take place from. And I was stationed mostly in Portsmouth, England, right on the English Channel. So I saved, I was married by then. I saved what money I could. And when I came back, I had enough money to make a down payment on one broken down truck dairy in Guelph.
Oh, yeah.
Which I bought. In 2 years' time, when we had 3 routes, we knocked on doors, got more business.
So how did you wind up in Barrie from there?
I sold that because the building was too small and everything else, and so I bought a larger dairy here in Barrie.
Oh, wow. Whereabouts was that?
It is now open water, but it's right on Kempenfelt Bay.
Oh, interesting.
It's
and so you would have been what, around in your 20s back then?
I would have been 22, 24, 28, about 28 years old.
Wow. And so at some point, Barrie, the population would have been how many people? 5,000 people?
At that time was about 10,000 people.
Wow.
Aurelia was a little larger.
Yeah. So it's still a town, though, at that time. It's not
It's
quite
still
a city.
Town,
Yeah.
Still a town, and it was a town, and I ran for council.
Yeah.
And we were a part of the county system. The county seat was in Barrie.
Yeah.
And,
So you wound up getting elected as mayor.
I was elected deputy reeve and then reeve.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I was promoting that we become a city.
Yeah.
This would give us an edge over Aurelia, and plus it would give us an edge over getting business and industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were a huge advocate for bringing industry and business to Barrie. But
and so there was a lot of controversy because we'd lose the county seat, which we did, but they didn't move far away.
no.
So anyway, the vote carried, and we became a city.
Yeah.
And since then, the population is.
And you got elected as the first mayor of the city of Barrie.
That's right.
And that's quite a ways back. When are we talking there?
That was 1959.
Wow.
I was elected mayor as a town in 57.
Okay.
And then again, at that time we had yearly
Yeah. Oh, wow.
elections.
Lots of time to get rid of people you don't like.
Well, I'm telling you, if you made an election promise, you had a very short time to get it fulfilled. Now they got 4 years.
Well, it's a little different back then, too. You didn't have all the election signs and stuff like that. And
Oh yeah, we had everything.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So as you're building up and slowly, trying to help the city of Barrie become a city, and you're trying to attract business, one of the things that you were an advocate for, too, was the trail. This whole trail.
That's right. We had, I could vision this coming from Cambridge, where we had the Grand River, but it was enclosed. And going someplace where you could see water was just so wonderful.
Yeah.
And this place here is just a real jewel.
They call it the crown jewel of
we had
Ontario.
no access to it.
Yeah.
It was completely surrounded by either buildings or property we didn't own. The head end of the bay was filled with small growth and brush and sewage.
Yeah.
And all of this had to be cleaned up.
Yeah. And how'd you do that?
Well, it took a lot of effort and a lot of money, but we did it without increasing taxes. We went at it, and the whole end of the bay was lined up with old buildings, and some substantial buildings. There were 2 tanneries and other manufacturing buildings there. There were coal yards.
Yep.
And there was no access for anybody to get to the water.
Yeah, for sure.
And in fact, nowhere. The whole shores were lined up with virtually
Just
sheds,
almost
or shacks
impassable,
or buildings.
Yeah.
There was no access.
So how do you see Barrie now, though, it must be so different to see way back then to now. You've got Painswick, Allendale, and all these different places that would have never existed when you first became mayor.
Yeah, well, I look at it. I look at it like I'm looking at a diamond, a jewel.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasure, and it's something here for everyone. Everyone, whether they live with a view of I have a house that overlooks the water, but whether you have that or not, you drive, you see the water, it's clear, it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
This water is a great asset. We dispose our sewage in there, but it's made clean.
Yeah, we have an incredible gray water system here.
And we get our water from there. And we have great water.
Yeah, we do.
And
Well, the Barrie surface water is great.
another thing, just the past
Yeah.
few weeks, when you've heard of the hurricanes, the floods that ensued,
We've been
and
through a lot.
everything else. I was here when Hurricane Hazel came, and the waters came down
Wow.
in torrents.
Mm-hmm.
Did we suffer?
No.
Not very much, because the water came down our streets and
And
it
into the
had a
lake.
place to go.
Yeah.
How many places had that?
No, they just don't. It's like when we had the fire in downtown Barrie and they managed to flood the basement of every old architectural building all through downtown.
That's
if you go into the
right.
basements, you can see the water level of about maybe 3 or 4 feet up in some of
That's
them.
right.
But it had a place to go after.
We have so many benefits here
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know of any other city in Canada that has
Yeah.
the benefits that we have.
What was your favorite thing that you accomplished or that you went through when you were mayor?
Well, there are many, and it's hard to distinguish any one.
You must have one that stands out.
My greatest pleasure was, and feeling of accomplishment, was when
Yeah.
we would bring a new industry here.
Mm-hmm.
And I traveled throughout the United States
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And we had a pamphlet that was printed up that showed the beauty of Barrie,
Mm-hmm.
showed our waterfront. So beautiful Barrie, we had a beautiful place for people to come and live and work in. And this was very important for executives of a company if they
Yeah.
were to come here. Plus all the other attractions that they could get for employees.
Yeah.
But we also had the
Okay,
lowest
60.
taxes per capita of any town or city in Canada.
That's amazing.
And this was a big advantage for industry.
Well, we spent a lot of time up and down as
And,
being one of
but
Canada's most progressive cities.
The big part was actually as mayor, and I was never refused an entry to the president of a company in the United States.
Smart. Smart. So I'm going to take you away from the mayor thing here for a second.
Yeah.
So, because being the first mayor of the city of Barrie is pretty darn awesome, Willard, and that's really great. And I can tell you're passionate and did an amazing job at that. But there's other things about Willard that I want to know too. So, at some point, you met Colonel Sanders,
That's
the
right.
original Colonel Sanders. You met him.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I met him. I heard about his chicken, and I met him in Kentucky at his home. He had a humble home.
You went to Colonel Sanders' home in
That's
Kentucky.
right. And we became acquainted. And he was quite a man. This colonel title was honorary,
Yeah.
was given to him. And he gave me the franchise for Barrie. And I got the franchise. And I think the fee was 5 cents a chicken that he was to get,
Oh, wow.
you see. So
I've had an acquaintance with Colonel Sanders too, but only from the takeout.
yeah, anyway, the significant thing was, at this time, he had operations in the United States, and he had a system of reporting, and I forget what the system was, but it was something on the chicken bought from your suppliers, and you had to pay 5 cents a chicken, 5 cents a head. And anyway, one of the checks I sent him was more than what he had calculated down there from the suppliers.
Yeah.
That's because I guess we ran out of chicken, and we got chicken from another supplier, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, he got a hold of me by telephone. He said, "How come you sent me more money?" And I said, so I explained it. And so from then on, he thought I was the only honest franchisee that he had.
That's so much fun.
Somehow or other, we became friends.
That's a really fascinating
Any
story.
affair he had with his family or anything else, why, we became friends. And remember, he could not read or write.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, he had not gone to school.
Oh, wow.
And so this honesty impressed him. Because
I'll bet. Well, I think that's one of the things that's everybody's always been impressed with you,
That's
Willard, as we
right.
can tell you've got that honesty.
But he was a great man, and we had him here in Barrie many times. I had an old car, a 1934 Packard.
Oh, wow.
That you could take the top down.
Yeah.
And we'd have him, we'd lead parades through Barrie and
So a lot has happened in your life, not even just that, and we're going to try and unpack that a little bit. So this kind of blows my mind a little bit. So you just recently turned 99,
yeah.
right? So I don't even know what you'd get somebody who just turned 99. What sort of things would you get somebody? I made a joke with Stephen, my camera guy, that you would get them a cash for life card. What would you get? What do you get somebody who just turned 99?
Well, I got a nice kiss from my wife.
Now, wait a minute. I'm going to back this up, too. You just got married at 97.
Yeah.
Willard. 97 years old getting married. You're in the clear. So, Willard, tell me about that. How do you meet somebody? Is it on Match.com? Do you meet them in a bar? How do you meet somebody that you're going to marry when you're 97 years old?
Well, this Karen, my wife, I led for years after I retired, sold my business,
Yeah.
and I led hiking, mountain climbing, backpacking trips all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, we operated at a fairly low cost for the people going.
Mm-hmm.
And people would come and go on these trips many year after year.
Yep.
And the trips were graded as to difficulty. So that if you could just walk on a trail like here,
Yep.
the
That's
trip would
level one.
be number one, and then the
Yep.
grades would go up. So if you were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, why,
Which you've done.
yes.
And I'm going to get back to that. I want to ask you more about how you met your wife.
And why the trails were given a much higher grade,
Yeah.
so that we wouldn't have to get people airlifted out. Anyway, I had a whole...
The hardest grade, I think, comes with a wife. Is that what they do? They give you a really high grade mountain to climb, and it comes with a wife.
That's right. So I had a whole group of assistants
Yeah.
that would assist me,
Okay.
and the payment was they would get a free trip out of it.
Nice.
And my wife was one of those assistants. That's where I met her.
Oh, wow. So let's back this up again.
Actually, I met her on the Bruce Trail, which grew right through Ontario.
It only makes sense that you would meet somebody on a trail, considering
Yeah.
all of what you've done as an advocate for trails, right? So let me back this up a bit. So Kilimanjaro is not exactly a blue mountain, right?
No.
That's a mountain. That's a real mountain.
Yeah.
And so tell me a bit about preparing yourself for an excursion like that. So you've climbed Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
How old were you when you climbed it, if I may ask?
Pardon?
How old were you when you climbed it? Roughly.
Roughly, I would have been in my early 80s.
So anybody who's paying attention to this show today needs to see that in your 80s, there's still a lot of things you can achieve,
Yeah.
right? So tell me about how you built up for that excursion.
Well, you hiked other tough trails, and that particular trail there was it was tough because you got into thin air.
Yeah.
That was the biggest single problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a guide, a local guide,
Mm-hmm.
to go with us.
Yep.
that was accustomed to thin air.
Yeah.
And we even had we had several local people that carried some of our weight.
Yeah, they do that at Everest and places like that. They have the shamans and those
this was
that go
always
with
a
them.
big problem, was the weight, the food, and everything else you had to carry for.
Yeah. And with lack of oxygen, everything's even heavier.
So we had some local guys that carried the bulk of the weight. We carried our clothes and things like that.
Well, you'd be so weak, you'd have to have some help.
That's right.
That thinner air, you can't carry that kind of stuff.
So, well, the secret is slow. You go slow, slow.
Patience.
And I know I had one fellow, he was a tall, tough hiker.
Yeah.
You know, he was one of the stronger ones, much younger.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't hold him back. Everybody was to stay behind me, but not him. No, he
had to go.
Charged ahead. 2/3 up Kilimanjaro, he was flat out. He never made it.
Yeah. Oh, no.
See, he went too fast, and he ran out of oxygen.
Well, slow and steady.
So this was the secret, was to go slow.
Now, you're an advocate for health, though, too, because I was talking to you just before we sat down, and you were telling me about what you do each week. So you have sort of a workout regimen, too. What's your week like?
Well, I try to at least 4 times a week, sometimes 5 or 6. I go to the YMCA. And by the way, we have a wonderful Y.
Mm-hmm, we do. We're very lucky.
Again, talking about views, there in the workout room and the weight room, you look out over Highway 400, you see views, and it's just a wonderful workout room.
And you even designate certain days for your upper body and your lower body, and you're in this full-on health.
I do 10 different machines for upper body, and I do 3 repetitions of 12 each.
Wow.
Now, as I've aged, I've had to reduce the amount of weight that I do.
But you are doing something a lot of people are not doing. There's a lot of procrastinating going on. There's a lot of people who just go, I'm going to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'll get there and do 15 minutes, or they go there and they talk to their friends and they're not really there.
It takes effort some days.
Yeah.
Some days you don't feel like it. So the other day I do lower body, legs. I lift things with my legs and so on.
So when you're not at the gym, what is it like in a day for Willard? What is it like for you during the day? Like what's it like just doing your thing?
Well, I have a pleasant day. I watch the news.
Yeah.
I'll, of course, read the morning paper.
Yeah.
And by the way, we miss the daily newspaper we used to have.
Yeah.
But I'll do the mail. I still get some mail. I still get bills. People want some money. So
for you then, Willard, there must be sort of a message for the people around the city of Barrie then that you must have. What is your message to the city of Barrie? What is your message to the people?
Well, to keep active.
Yeah.
Keep active and to do something. Now, you ask what I do during the day. I'll often go down to the East End Variety and have lunch.
Oh, yeah, it's a great spot for breakfast.
And, in fact, they had my 99th birthday there. But anyway, there's a variety of people there, and we'll discuss every subject that's going, including what's happening in the city of Barrie.
Well, they must get quite the opinion from you, considering how far back you go and the things you've seen. What is one of the things you think that you would probably wind up talking about recently that would be one of the biggest things in Barrie that you've seen change?
Well, we have an election coming up, and we have 9 candidates in Ward 1.
Isn't that crazy?
I've talked to most of them, what their policies are. And sure, they'll look after your needs, but I don't need a politician if there's a broken curb, they call a politician to fix that.
Yeah.
There's a Department of Works, there's City Hall. I want the politicians to promote Barrie,
Yeah.
to get into the action of things. And so I asked them, normally to get industry, one important thing was to have parcels of industrial land for sale. We filled the entire basin between Ann Street and Highway 400
We sure did.
on one purchase. And then we made other purchases further out.
Yeah.
So we had something there ready that we could service and sell at a reasonable price. Do we have any industrial lands today?
None.
None.
None. The last chunk we had was Molson's.
We had an industrial commissioner that spent his whole time doing legwork, getting leads that the mayor could go out and follow up.
Wow.
Do we have one today?
No.
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 So I've asked some of these candidates.
Do you tell them who you are when they knock on your door? Do you tell them that, hey,
They know who I am.
They better not be running. They haven't done their homework. So you must be able to just sort of see through it and, you know, put away what you can smell and just go, okay, yeah, that's not going to work. Because people, obviously, in the city of Barrie, and you're totally an advocate for that, need to see that there's a big difference between people who have children and what their needs are, and then somebody who's maybe a senior and who they've got a walker and they might need sidewalks cleared. You know, a lot of different things that people need.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. But I think we've been pretty well looked after in that regard.
Yeah, we've had some pretty good mayors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your message then? Would you say a message from Willard just for people, because you've been around this world for 99 years. What would you tell people, not on a political way or as Willard, the former mayor, what would you just tell people on how to live life?
Well, I don't know if I'm the person to do that or not, but I'd say the first thing is to look a little beyond yourself and communicate or be friends with your neighbor, with other people. In other words, and we were just talking about the why.
Yeah.
You even go in the steam room and the why, and we have good conversations. And this type of thing of conversing with one another is very important. And sure, you'll often discuss matters of great interest.
For sure. I think that's a great message to talk about conversation.
But beyond that, it's to take an interest in the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Whether it be on the sports field, whether it's our schools or education.
Yeah.
And let's talk a bit about this. This whole park scene that's been created.
Yeah.
Around our bay, that's available for everybody. It's free.
Yeah.
There's no charge unless you want an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a great spot, Willard, and I have to tell you that unfortunately I've got it.
It's been enhanced by our service clubs. Our service clubs have done many things around here to enhance it.
Yeah.
Like a spirit catcher and
yeah, well, I think you hit on a really important key, Willard, and that is people need to communicate and take a look at what we've got here around us, the city of Barrie.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. Our time's run out, and I wish you all the very best, and it's been a true honor to talk to you today. Thank you, Willard.
Thank you, Kevin.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media. This is Rogers TV, Barrie. This is Rogers TV. Barrie.